Okay. What story? Do you wanna come and tell them a story? Get out of here. Go mind your own business. Right. All right. KJ, how are you doing, sir? So as we wait for more people to join in, maybe we can just do a recap of what we've done so far. So here's an interesting thing. When you're running a server, when you're running a software in the cloud, like right here, this is the back end of Soma Stories running. And I can see everything going on. For example, I can see somebody got an error. I don't know what caused that error. But I can also see here that somebody has registered. You see this? It's saying user registered, verification email sent. And I can see the user who has registered. And then I can see they have logged in using this. And then I can see what else have they done. So they've opened CLI and Git. This is the chapter. So I think the user has opened this right here. What else do we have? Yeah, they've opened the chapter and then they got an error. So what is this error? Self-taught computer science. Why? So when fixing such issues, I can just copy this. This is what you call logs. In probably in any software we have logs. Logs just keep track of what is happening in your software so that you can be able to identify where the issue is. So I'm seeing an error here, so I'll just paste it in my notepad and then have a look at it later, figure out why the user was getting an error. Yeah, so this is the fun part actually of building software. So I can see everything happening here, but of course I can't, look at this the entire day. So I only look at it when I think there's an error. Let me just close this. Yeah. Command not recognized. I don't know why. Some Delta. I didn't see your issue in the help channel. So, did you post something in the help channel? Let me see. I could have skipped it. I might have skipped it. I might, not could have. I might. There are quite a few. All right. I think I haven't gone through the help channel for a while. I've been super busy, but I'll go through it after this. But just to give you a refresh of how we install Next.js. Yeah, Desmond, we finished strong. No reply up to now. Oh, Icon, I'm terribly sorry. Let me just do that right now. As a matter of fact, let me just go through the issues right now. Because after this, I'll be... I might forget. Oh, Desmond, I see you had an issue. I forked some added codes to our foods in kitchen project, and this is what my screen shows. Have I done it right? So let's see. So actually, for me to be able to help you, you might want to show me the output of git log. Git status. Then type git remote origin -v. Wait, is that the correct command? Let me see. Git remote origin -v. No, it's git remote -v. I need to be inside a project. So let me see. Why am I typing that? That's actually dumb. Okay. Yeah, I need you to type this command and share the output. So it's supposed to be. Come on, why are you copying things I've not asked you to copy? So git remote share the output below. So after this, I'll be able to see if you have an issue, if you're stuck. So let's see. Mugo, I got lost here. I don't know why there is an error. I'll appreciate you got lost where. Let's have a look. Main.js phone R. Are you sure you wanted to type R? So Mugo, you might want to share the output of when you run node main.js. Please share the output of what you get. That way I'll be able to see where the issue is. But if we just skim through your code, you have const buyer, that Peter, age, const country, const is reported stolen, true, and then both phones, console.log, first buyer, console.log is reported stolen. Wait, you're getting an error here. How? Okay, just paste the output. I'll see. Desmond, new repository field name description in create next page find this. I hope that helps. Let's see. Quick setup you've done. Oh yeah, you actually got to this part. That's good. Oh, I missed the point where to get the code from Soma Stories GitHub collab page to run my. I think I responded to you, Desmond, right? I responded to this issue. Icon, let's see. I'm getting this error while trying to push my branch to GitHub. So let's see. Please complete authentication in your browser. Oh yeah, so you don't want to authenticate. This is CMD. You need to generate the SSH keys and paste the SSH keys in your GitHub account. So those SSH keys will help you authenticate. You can try and go through the. Let me see if I shared that here. So let's see. Where is the SSH part? Okay. I think it wasn't in this chapter. Let's try get this one. Betty Ongige, glad to hear that. Glad to hear you are enjoying. Oh, Desmond, you got solved. Perfect. So we are looking at icons issue. Oh my goodness, I think I had added the SSH thingy instructions here. I might have. Oh my goodness, I skipped. Yeah, icon. But if you go to video number class 10, I think you will see me generating SSH keys. Users script. Let's see. Yeah, anyway, I think I'll have to reply to this differently than I thought I would. Now, where is Discord? Have I closed Discord? My goodness. Okay, so let's see. So yeah, I think I'll actually just do a separate video that explains the entire thing. I'll do a separate video, hopefully by by Monday. All right. So I'm trying to add all the notes on this series right here. So the notes for this class will be available here in the same series under backend development. I'm still working on the front-end development part, which will help you, with the previous class. So this is still in draft. Yeah, that's just it. Oh yeah, young lady, what is wrong with you? All right, so let's dive deeper. Let's see what's happening. So I want to start with an example, and of course we discussed and said front end is what you see. Okay, the buttons here. Yeah, young lady, get out of here. So we said this is the front end. Whoever decides how this card should look like is what you call a front end engineer. They decide where to put this, how to display the paragraph, what size should the picture be. So if you open a story such as this one, you have the title of the story, the author, you have the tags, you have the number of words, bookmarks, likes, and the story itself. So for now, because I have already spotted a bug, that's why you see I look confused. I have spotted a bug that I need to fix. So this is showing total tokens is, oh my goodness. Okay, just a minute. Hey. I just spilled my coffee. Come on. Let me get another sandwich. All right, sorry about that. So Victor Kihara, yeah, she wants to code. So here is a bug actually, and so here I'm seeing I have 455 total tokens. I have earned 255 tokens, and I was given 198 tokens for free. So here it says, I can withdraw 455 Kenya shillings. However, when I come to a story, such as this one, have I unlocked this one? Oh, okay. This was showing 0 actually. That's where I figured the problem was. Anyway, so the front-end engineer decides how to show this card right here. And what content to show. So this is just buy Jen Kiarie coffee to keep local stories like this coming. So I can't read the entire story, so I have to unlock if I want to continue reading the entire story. So what I do is I hit this button. Now pay attention to what happens. I hit this button, and my tokens are deducted, and now I can read the entire story. Okay. I can try with another story so you guys can see. So this shows the entire content. That's fine. So I'm at 453.8. Let me open another story, something like this. I have already opened this. That's why it's not showing me the unlock card here. So it's just fetching the entire story. So what if I want to open another story like this one? Which I haven't unlocked. Okay, so we are at 453, and I can't read the whole story unless I unlock it first. So of course I'll start reading, figure out if this is an interesting story. I'm a small village I'm a small village called Kimani. Okay, this is painful to read. Let me just look for another story. All right, so the weight of silence. Let's see if I've read this one. No, I haven't read this one. So the water sachets burst under the wheels of passing cars. White plastic splitting open against the hot asphalt. Dano did not seem to notice. He stood frozen in the chaos of Oshodi. His trembling hands now empty, his eyes fixed on the man in the tailored linen shirt who had just called him Papa. Okay. Oberi. So, yeah, I'm not going to read the entire thing. So, assuming I like the story, I would want to read, the entire content. So, 453, I will unlock it. And as you can see, the balance has updated. So I have 450 now, not 453, okay? And I can read like so. So everything happening here is happening in, the backend. Not everything, all the heavy lifting. Like if a user has unlocked this story, then show them the full content. And then take the amount of tokens that the story requires and deduct from the author. Now let's see how our backend handles everything. So I'll just minimize this. I'll minimize this, and then I will open my backend server, which I can just open it here. So don't worry about the API, the don't worry about the lines. We just want to pay attention to something simple here. So if I go to my profile, first I want to read log, so I'll say I'll do that. I will give it a second because it's reading all the logs on on the server. I do not want you here. Go away. All right, so let's open one story and pay attention what happens here. So I will look for a story like this one, first call, and then as you can see, it's saying, oh my goodness, I lost it. It's saying this is get and it's stories, and then this is the story ID, and then we are checking the comments, we're checking related, and then we're also getting the profile information. Okay, so what happens when I unlock a story? And I'll just select this so that we can track. So if I scroll to the bottom and unlock this story, yeah, there's quite a lot happening here. Okay, so for starters, we can see the admin has been given I think 20%, so that is 0.2 tokens, and the writer also has been given 80% tokens. I think it's not showing here, but as you can see here, unlock, this story was unlocked. And if you remember from what I said about HTTP codes, this is 200 means success, and then a bunch of other information that we don't need for now to worry about. So whatever has happened here, the user who is using the browser has not seen, of course the user does not see all this. What they see is the story has been unlocked. It is the work of the backend engineer to now write all the instructions that will perform everything we've seen. So if a user unlocks, add at 20% to admin, deduct 20% from the user, get the metrics of the performance, and so on and so forth. So a lot has happened here which the user is not aware, and this is the work of a backend engineer. So let me just exit out of this and go back here. So now I hope you are beginning to understand the connection between backend and frontend, where backend handles some of the heavy logic, like for example, does the user have enough tokens? They unlocked a story. Have we deducted the same amount from their balance? Things like those. So oh my goodness. So what tools do you need as a backend engineer? At least for the very basics, you need to have VS Code, and we've talked about VS Code. I'm just looking for my Windows computer here. I don't know where it went to. Let me open this. So you need VS Code, of course. In our case, you are going to use Python to create our backend. However, you can use any language you like. So in the web development world, we have different languages you can use to create your backend. So Python is one of them. Java is another one. Go is another one. PHP. What else? We have Rust, and C#, C++, and so on and so forth. So in our case, we're only going to focus on Python because it's easy. It's easy to work with Python. However, you need to understand the fundamentals because, like I said, we don't focus on writing the code. We focus on the logic, The other skill you'll need is Git and GitHub. And lastly, you'll need terminal. However, before we proceed, I wanted to show you guys that creating backend for websites is not the only use case for programming languages. Programming languages are used in so many other fields, like for example in data analysis, and we'll talk more about that when we get to the data analysis course. They can be used in data science. They can be used in graphics and whatnot. And I want to show you an example of how Python is used in graphics. So if you came to the office hours where we looked at 3D design, you got to see this software called Blender. And Blender basically is a software used to create 3D animations, for marketing and whatnot. Excuse me. So here I've opened Blender 3D and I'll just say general. And then here I'm going to go to ChatGPT. And then I'll say write a script to create a small table in Blender. Okay, so assuming you're doing architecture and whatnot and you don't know how to because for you to create the table in this thing, you have to come to edit mode here. I think you can move it around, you can scale it if you want. You can pick this, move it like so. You can pick this other one, move it like so. You can pick this, move it like so, until you get your table. Okay, and it's a 3D space. As you can see, I can just do this. So you can do quite a lot with this. For example, if you want to create a marketing video for a phone, you can create the phone here so that you can simulate like the phone falling in water and whatnot. So here I've just asked ChatGPT to generate a simple script, and this is the script it has generated. So what I'll do is I'll copy this script, and then I'll come to Blender, and then under, oh my goodness, where is it? I have forgotten. Okay, let's try plus scripting. Where's scripting? No. Script. Oh, it's right there. Anyway, so I'll say new text, I'll paste my code, and then I run it. And then as you can run it, you can see it has generated the table for you. Trust me, just doing this takes almost, I don't know, like 2 hours to do this. But using Python, we've just done it in a matter of seconds. So what if you want to see how it will look like? So I can just come to this thing here. Is it that one or this one? It's this one. All right. As you can see, you can add as more commands as you want. So you can go back to ChatGPT and tell it the table should be outside on the grass. Okay, and then you'll see what happens. So this is just one of the many use cases of Python. You don't just use it to build web applications. And after this, we'll just go through the code and see if we can try to understand the code. Yeah, Icon. One PC can have both Windows and Linux. So in my case, I'm using Linux as my primary operating system, but I'm running Windows, in a virtual as a virtual machine. However, not all computers can handle that, so you can try dual booting, as Mwas has mentioned. So we'll copy the code here. We go back to Blender, and then we replace our code here. What have I done? Have I not? All right, so we hit play again. Where is that play? So I'll hit play here, and as I can see, it has tried to generate the grass like so. So we can go into preview mode. Why is it? Oh yeah, this is now preview. As you can see, the grass is not really that great, but again, you know, if you prefer using a code, you can just keep going. So the other way is there, like you can even connect it to Cloud Code and, you know, do your thing in there. Now, looking at this code, let's see if we can pick out some things we've already learned. So so right here we have a function. I don't know if you guys can see. Right here we have a function which is create leg, and the function takes x and y axis, because for you to put something in a 3D space you need, okay, this is not 3D by the way, it's x and y, so it's 2D space. You need the x and y axis, and then we have an inbuilt method here, and we are accessing some properties of the method, and then we are getting the location, and then again this is another method, and then we are sort of like scaling it here, and then we are returning the leg, and then we are getting the leg position. So we have 4 legs, so this is 1 2 3 4. As you can see, the leg position along the y-axis is the same for these 2 legs, because it's the same along the y-axis. Now if you rotate it this way and look at these other legs, they are the same along the x-axis. That is what you see here. So if we continue, we see now we have a variable here, but our variable is given a list, and this list contains it contains a method, and it contains the function. Oh, okay, this is not actually a list. This is it's list compression or something. I've forgotten in Python, but don't worry about that. So and then we have a for statement, for loop here for node in nodes dot remove. So we're just calling some sort of method here to do something to that node that we get. And yeah, so as you can see, this entire Python script powers this whatever. You can do quite a lot of things, not just that. You can, for example, say create a sample phone and animate it falling down. So let's see if ChatGPT is indeed as powerful as it claims. Oh, Discord link, let me share that with you in a second. Where's Discord? Kungu mama, enamino tangalo mama, ekutini mama samachamana. All right, so we can give it some time. Oh, okay, it's done. Okay, let's have a look. So I will copy that code. I come here, I just delete everything, and then I paste that, and then I hit play. Where is our glass? I asked for a glass. Why are you giving me a table? My goodness. Yeah, anyway, let's just close this. So that is one of the ways we use Python. It's just not in web development. But if you're using Python in web development, you have what we call frameworks. And frameworks basically just help you to speed up your development process. One such framework we use is called FastAPI. It's used to create what we call API endpoints. And from the word go, an API endpoint is just like a link. Just think of it that way. But this link is a special link because it gives you data. Okay, it's a special link. So there are so many APIs. We have APIs that are free to use. You can use it whenever you want. And we have APIs that are paid, or you cannot just use them anyhow. One such API that is a paid API, or not really paid but proprietary, is like the M-Pesa API. So when you come here and you try to top up your account, if we can just see what happens. So here I will enter the amount, I'll enter my phone number, and then I'll hit process. Okay, and once I do that, so I can see from my phone, it's telling me, do you want to pay 10 shillings to Soma Stories? As you can see there. Okay, so what has happened is I have called the M-Pesa Daraja API to initiate the payment. Another API, other APIs that are free, something like, for example, food facts. Okay, we can look at food facts API and see if we can use it for free without, you know, much setup. So let me see. So we'll grab this command right here. We'll grab this and then paste it in a new tab like so. Yeah, and then as you can see, it's returning a bunch of data. So this is a free API, okay? And whenever I say an API endpoint, I just mean something like this, but instead of showing a website, it gives us data. That is what an API means. So apart from having VS Code, having Python installed, having Git installed, you also need to know some of the the terminal commands that we've looked at. For example, creating a directory, changing directories, and running a Python file. Okay, when you say Python main.py, you also need to know how to do that. Git commands you need to know is git init, git commit, git add, git push, and other commands for authentication. Apart from that, you need to know Python fundamentals. Let me just copy something here. Sublime. So you also need to know Python fundamentals. Like this is a variable of data type a string. Okay, this is an integer. Age is also a variable here. This is what we call a float, which is just a number with decimal places. We have Boolean data type, something like this. Is user logged in? True. We have things like lists, and then we have things like dictionaries. Now dictionaries, I haven't actually taught you guys dictionaries. I left it out intentionally because I believe some things it's just easier to learn about them when you see them in action. Okay, so this is what you call a dictionary, and it's just a name value pair, name value. So here we have name Alice, we have age is 25, we have email is alice at example.com. And then we have a print statement. So I haven't added a function there, but we can also look at that. So apart from looking at simple data types and simple if statements or logic control flows, I also need to learn about functions. Like here we have a function called greet user, which will take the username, and then we have a variable called message, which will now print whatever it is we want to print. So welcome username. And then here we are calling the function, and then we are printing the results. So here's another function which takes the price, quantity, discount. So this is a default discount equals to 0. So we are saying subtotal equal to price times quantity, and then total equals to now that subtitle minus the discount. This is very important actually, especially if you are building a billing management system or a POS. You don't want to start with a discount that you don't know the value. So you initialize it with 0, okay, unless you change it. So if you change this to like 1 or whatever, you get different results. So apart from functions, you also need to know about loops, control flows. So let me just copy this here. So for example here, this is not supposed to be there. So for example here we have age is 17. And then we have an if statement that checks if the age is greater than 18, grant you access. If age is, equals to 17, almost there, come back next year. That's actually funny. And then else, access denied. The use case for this, I'm pretty sure most of you have visited that website. You know that website where you you take the volume down, increase brightness a little bit, and this normally happens at 10 p.m. So if you visited that website, the first thing they ask you is how, are you 18? Continue. Not 18, don't continue. And don't ask me how I know. As an engineer, I visit some of these websites so that I can learn. Keyword learn. So okay, so assuming you're building a website for betting and the instructions are very strict, or the rules are very strict that any user who is less than 18 years cannot access that website. This is how you can handle it. Okay, so you specify you get the age of the user. Of course, you cannot just write 17 because you don't know which user is visiting your website, but this just, you know, explains what happens. So those are if statements. Now the interesting bit I want to talk about today is what we call error handling. Okay, and error handling is very important because when you're working when you're working with API endpoints, you always don't know which data will the user send, or what kind of, or the, how can we say this, or the type of a request a user is sending to the API endpoint. Okay, so you need to find a robust way, of handling errors, and to do that we use what you call a try, except, finally block. Okay, so you might want to write that down because you'll see a lot of it. So this thing, you see try, except, finally, and then try, except, and then finally. So this is just a robust way of handling errors. Don't worry about this, you've not handled this yet, but just know we have a way of handling errors in Python. Yeah, so that is just the basics of of learning of the Python fundamentals. Now the next thing you also need to know before you jump into backend engineering is what we call the request response cycle, which is also a client server model. Now in the web, let me see if try, catch, finally. Yeah, JavaScript has its own way, by the way. It's not always the same in every language, so each language has its own way of handling that. So let's look at a very simple example. So you open your browser as the user, and you need to put a browser here so that it can be relatable. So let me just look for a computer icon here. All right, so here's a computer or a phone. Let me just do this. And this is actually very, very extremely important you understand this if you want to get serious about backend development. So I'm going to explain this in theory using this diagram, and then I'll give you an actual example. So you as the user, you open your phone, or whatever, and then you type www.somastories.app. So what the browser will do, the browser in this case is what we call a client. Okay, so the browser will send your request to the server that has somastories.app. Now remember, we said in our earlier classes that a website is just files stored somewhere on a special computer called a server. Now this special computer can be outside Kenya. It can be in like, let me just confirm where mine is. How do I do that? I've forgotten. Anyway, so my server right now is in, if I'm not wrong, in New Zealand. Okay, so what your browser will do here in Kenya, it will send that request to the browser in New Zealand, and New Zealand will process whatever it is you want with that data. So for example, if you want stories, so this is our database for stories. So if you want stories, the server will get the stories in a format we call JSON. Okay, and then this story will be sent to the browser, and you will see all the stories displayed here. Okay, so this becomes the client, this becomes the server. This is what we call the client server model. Okay, so to just have a better understanding of what happens here, you are in a different country, okay, and the server is in a different country. So we'll call this Uganda, for example, and this is in New Zealand. Is that how New Zealand is written? New Zealand. Okay, actually I think it's in South Africa, not in New Zealand. My goodness, South Africa. Okay, so the server is in South Africa, you are in Uganda, and all this happens in in seconds, not minutes. It happens in seconds, and I'll show you how that works. So you go to the browser. Let me just open a new tab here. what is not happening? And then in the new tab, I'll type www.somastories.app. Okay. So I think my internet is a little bit shaky. That's why it takes a while. But as you can see, I'm getting stories. So what I've just done right now with the browser is exactly everything I have explained here. So this is what you call the client server, and it's extremely important you understand this. Now, where it will get a little bit confusing is when we are talking about servers, because when we are running a backend stack locally, I'll say the server will be running. And that you might find that confusing, because I've said a server can be in South Africa. What do you mean again server is running locally? So this is what you call a production server, and we can just say prod to mean production server. Okay, but when you are running your application locally, of course you need to test it before you push it to now the production server. Now that act of testing your app, you will simulate a small server, which we can call is the develop. I swear this T is going to spoil my keyboard. So let me just get it out of the way. Yeah, so what you'll do is you'll simulate a small copy of a server, which you can call a dev server, so that as you are building, you have to test how will the user interact with this application in production. So when I say production, I mean production server. So this is actually very important. Go ahead, take a photo if you want to take a photo, because you will need to understand this in detail. Sorry. All right, just give me a minute. All right, so that is everything about client server, and like I've said, it's a very important concept. Make sure you've learned it and mastered it. Let me just open my notes here. So now, after we've learned about the client server needs some sort of a code to communicate. Okay, so let me just draw another line here to separate the countries, like so. So both the server and the client need a way to communicate so that they understand each other. Now, whatever method they use to communicate, okay, there are so many methods they use to communicate. Let me just write them here. So we have things like WebSockets, and we have things like TCP. Now in TCP is also what people refer to HTTPS or HTTP. Okay, and I'll show you an example of this HTTP. So if I go to the browser right now and I want to type a web address or a website, so how a normal user does it is they come here and say www.somastories.app. Okay, but as a software engineer, don't do that. Okay, do things different. So as a software engineer, I'll come and say http somastories.app. So what this means is I'm just trying to get files from this server, and I want the files to use this method to get the files HTTP. Okay, so if I hit enter, you'll see I'm getting the same thing. It's even faster than this one right here. Now, other methods we also use to communicate to a server is SSH. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? We also use SSH. So for now, just understand the client is your local computer. The server is whatever is running the production files, in a server somewhere. Now you can communicate with the server in various ways. You can use HTTP, you can use TCP, you can use WebSockets. a very good example of how we can use SSH is if I want to connect to my server from the terminal, I'll use SSH. Let me show you how that happens. So right here, I'll open my terminal. Detach. Where did you go to? Oh my goodness. Why did I unpin? I was trying to kill it. Pin to dash. All right, so I'll come to my terminal here, and I want to find the IP address of my backend server. So I'll do dig api.somastories.app. Is it .app? Okay, and now I have the IP address. I'll do SSH story at. I'll copy this. I'll paste it here. Now pay attention what happens. You see this thing here, this, pay attention to that. You see this has changed to this. Okay, do you see that? This has changed to that. Now this means I am right now inside my server. My server is up there in South Africa, but I'm inside it. I can command it, I can control it. So I can do things like ls to see the contents of what is inside there. I can even read this file here, which is what is serving our website and the backend. But I can exit that server. I'll do exit, and then now you see it has changed to this. So I'm outside the server. So that is SSH. So we have WebSockets. Unfortunately, I can't show you guys WebSockets. But now let's go back to HTTP. Now in HTTP, we need a way for the server to communicate to the client about the status of the request. Now remember, this is what we call a request. Okay, I think earlier I talked about request response. So this is what we call a request. Now a request can have several responses. So number one, it can not responses but methods. Sorry, I'm confusing you guys. We can have several methods. For example, if you want just to get data, to get files, we will use what we call the get method. If you want to save files on the server, we will use what we call the post method. But if we already have data on the server and we want to edit just a small part of it, we can either use put or patch. Okay, if we want to remove the data, we don't need it, we use what we call the delete method. So these are what we call HTTP methods. Okay, it's just how you communicate with the server, because if for example the server has files, now you can do several things to those files. You can edit, you can delete, you can add files to the server. So to do that, you use these methods, and each method will have its own what you call status code. Okay, each method will have its own status code, and I've talked about this before. I'll just grab a photo here. Let me just grab this photo, and the status codes can be can be broken down into this. So if you get 200, it means everything is working okay. If you get 201, it means nothing is working okay. It means whatever you are trying to save was created. If you get 400, it means it's a bad request. The server does not understand your request. Okay, 401 means hey, you need to authenticate yourself first, and so on and so forth. 500 means server error. Now let's try to see how this status code happen in real life. So I'll open Soma Stories again, and I want to create a story. Okay, so I'll click create, and then I'll say a story. Now the little bit that we forgot when you're talking about front-end engineering is the developer tools in your browser. Okay, if you just right click anywhere, or if you press F12, it opens this thing. Actually just use F12, it's easier. So if you press F12, Samuel Owati, please remind me that question towards the end. So if you press F12 on your keyboard, it will open this thing here. Okay, it will open this thing. Now what happens here is we can try and read the exact error the server is returning, and so on and so forth. For example, if we don't get the error here. So I want to write a story here, and I'll just copy paste something. Let me just copy paste this. I'll paste it here. I'll go again, I'll paste it. So now we have exceeded minimum words. So now pay attention to what happens here once I click publish story. Okay, so the server is telling me, hey, title and content cannot be empty. So we'll come here, add our title and content. So I'm just typing my own things, and then we hit publish again. And then, hey, publish stories must be, have at least one tag. What if I try to add multiple images? So I'll get an image here, and then I paste it, paste the image again, paste it, and then try to publish, saying, tag, we need to add the tag. So I'll scroll to the top, I will add my tag, done, and then I'll go and hit publish. Now see, pay attention to this, bam, see, it's returning an error. So what does that error mean? To a normal user, of course, it has just shown here, unable to create story. But to a software engineer, you need to dig deeper and find out where the issue is. So we can click on this thing right here. And then as you can see, story cannot contain more than 4 images. It's because we added 4 images. Let's try that one more time. Now, so I'll just come here and clear, and then scroll to the bottom, and then hit this publish. Pay attention to what happens. It's calculating. So story cannot contain more than 4 images. And then here we can see the actual response. Story cannot contain more than 4 images. Now, what status code did we get? So we can come to headers, and then as you can see, we got a bad request, 400. You now see how the HTTP codes are very useful. So what if we want to access a page that is not there? Okay, so let me try something like new, and then say just type nonsense, and then I'll hit enter, and then it's loading. That is not supposed to happen. Oh yeah, it's right here. So what happened is, whatever page I was trying to access when I typed all this nonsense here, the server returned with not found. The page you're trying to access, cannot be found, and then it redirected me. So what if we try that here? So let me clear again this, and then here I'm going to say, I'm just going to type nonsense. I hit enter. It's telling me 44. The page you're trying to access is not there. Okay, so if you go to the browser, let me see if we got that. Okay, it's not here. So here we are just getting 200, okay, 200, okay, but you're not really getting anything other than that, like 400, 500, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so this is how this is why rather it's important for you to understand these HTTP status codes, okay, because they help you understand where the issue is. Now the thing is, you do not need to cram all this. I find myself Googling these things a lot. If I just show you my browser history, you'll see I Googled this quite a few times because I keep forgetting. So when I get a certain error from my backend, like 44, and I don't know what it is, I'll just go and Google 44 HTTP status code, and Google will tell me what the error is. All right. Yeah. So I think the last concept before we now dive into a practical example is what we call JSON. And JSON is just basically a data type. It's like, you remember when you're talking about strings, integers, numbers, JSON is just like a data type, and it's the most common ways backend technologies used to communicate with each other. When you try to open a story, for example, here, if I load the stories page, and then I can see the request was made here. So the request is of course 200. Okay, the data was gotten, as you can see. I can go to the payload section right here. Oh no, not the payload, the response. I can go to the response page, and response is basically what your backend returned. So if we look at our response here, the backend returned the 10 Bob tragedy, which is right here, and then the content, and then the image. You see this thumbnail image, and I can even just do this to confirm it's the correct image. I can copy this image URL, and then paste it in a new tab like so. And as you can see, it's loading the image. We are hackers now. We are hackers. So whatever language the backend communicates in to the front end is what we call JSON. And it's nothing too complex by there. You don't even need to spend a lot of time studying it. You just need to know that it's like dictionaries in Python, key value. So for example, here we have the ID of this story is this one right here. The title is this, slug is this, and then we have all that information, even the tag. So if you look at the tags here, we have drama and true stories. And as you can see, it's true stories and it's drama. And right here we have the unlock count. How many people have unlocked this story? And as you can see, 2 people unlocked this story, okay? And so on and so forth. So this is all JSON. It's the data format that, the backend communicates. Before I proceed, who is lost? Any questions before I proceed? Because now we want to jump into writing some code. You mean the methods? We just use capital letters to distinguish them. I don't really know why we use capital letters, by the way. Yeah, but when you're sending an actual query to the backend, you will have to use capital letters some. I hope that answers your question. So some delta, a lot goes on into preparing your product for the market. I mean, building it is one thing, but preparing it for the market is another one, is another thing altogether. And that's why in software it's very easy to build software nowadays, but marketing is a huge headache. And it's not really just the marketing aspect. Your application has to have the quality the world needs. You see, for example, you build a website and you test it locally, you're just one person testing it. And then you deploy it to production. Now 10,000 people are accessing your website and then it crashes. Okay? So when your website has issues, when one person gets errors, it's very easy for them to just, go somewhere on social media and say, hey, this website is troublesome to work with, and that is how you lose customers. So building is one thing. Building it to withstand, I'm trying to look for a relatable term. Like to serve a lot of people is another thing. Also, marketing your product is also something else. Anyway, now let's jump into code. Let's build an API. Okay, so we want to build a backend API, or we want to build the backend, as other people say. So like I said, the tool we are going to use is FastAPI, and you can just open FastAPI and read through it and see what it is. I'm using FastAPI a ton of these. Turn these days. I'm actually planning to use it for all my teams' machine learning services at Microsoft. Some of them are getting integrated into the core Windows product and some Office product. So as you can see, somebody is saying that they want to use it, writing some core Windows, which is like Windows, the laptop you're using, and Office product like Microsoft Word. This is actually very interesting. Oh, Kabi Khan. Okay. We adopted the FastAPI library to spawn a REST server that can be queried to obtain predictions. Actually, let me tell you something. You need to program your brain to think and act like a software engineer. Now, software engineer has this vocabulary, okay, in their brain that they can use at will. Like, for example, it's very easy for me to say REST or API. But for you, if I say API, you would want to go back and try to understand what an API is, okay? So how you build that, vocabulary, how you convert your brain, is you don't skip anything. Learn as much as you can, like go crazy. Okay, so like this, if I was learning software engineering from scratch and I come across this thing, especially now that we have AI, I would just copy this. I'll go to ChatGPT or Gemini. All right, I'll go to Gemini and paste it. And then I'll identify the things I already know. I already know FastAPI is a backend framework, but I don't know what this library thing means. Okay, so I can just come here and say, what does library mean in this text? I'm typing in capital letters. I'm sorry, I'm not shouting at you. I just forgot the caps lock was on. All right, and the AI whatever will explain to you what a library is. Okay, so like as you can see here, library is a collection of pre-written code that developers use to solve common tasks. Okay, I already explained that in a previous lesson. So assuming you don't even know what this spawn means, okay, you can just ask it, what does spawn mean? Okay, so I think when I was starting, I used to come across a lot of these, and I did have a notepad on my phone. Let me see if I still have that notepad. I did have a notepad that I titled it to study. And every time I would come across something I don't know, I would just write it, inside to study. Okay, and as you can see, I last updated this thing, I don't know, 2024. And as you can see, these are all the things I was supposed to study during that time when I was using it. Okay, it's quite a lot. So now these are some of the things I figured if I stop whatever article I'm reading right now and go and try to learn them, I'll get confused. So I'll write them down like so. And then in the morning when I'm going to work, for those who live in Thika Road, you guys understand, it takes 2 hours to get to town in the morning. So it takes me about 90 minutes to get to work in the morning and about 45 or 50 minutes to, get back to the house. That is valuable time. Like I could read a lot, during that time. So do create a note. It can be a physical note. It can be on your phone. And then write down the things that you don't know, but you want to know. And you cannot break whatever you're doing right now because now, you'll end up confused. All right. So that's just a trick that might make your learning easier. So you can go through it, watch a video of this nice gentleman here and understand what FastAPI is. But in our case, we're just going to jump straight into installing it locally. So first and foremost, I'm using this guide. So I'll just copy this and paste it in the chat. You can paste it somewhere. And I'm going to minimize it so that okay, let me just shift to Windows. I think Windows is easier since most of you have Windows. So I'll open my Windows computer. Taking ages. I think this microphone is way too close up in my mouth. You guys can even hear when I'm swallowing something. That's not right. Tell me if you can still hear me when it's right here. Let me test something when it's right there. Anyway, so let's open FastAPI documentation in the browser right here. And then we'll move our browser to this side like so. Perfect. And then what we'll do next is, of course, with everything else, create your project directory. So here I'm going to create my project directory, and then I'm going to call it a 8 hours API. Okay, so this 8 hours API will return a list of courses that we are doing and more details about the courses. So we open the browser in the folder in VS Code. So I'll open VS Code here. Now you can cook. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll open VS Code. I'll say file, not that file. File, open folder, desktop 8 hours API. All right. So what did we say is the first thing we need to do? We need to create a documentation file. Okay. So our documentation file is going to be called readme.md, and inside readme.md we are going to say this is the 8 hours API, and then we are going to say it returns a list of courses, returns a list of students, and then we'll say shows details about courses. Okay, so this is what our API is going to do. All right, that looks okay. So the next thing we do is now we have to go to FastAPI. So I'll just move this to the bottom. Why don't you want to move to the bottom? So let me just open the terminal first. New terminal, and then I want to move this to this part. Perfect, charts. Let me minimize this. So I'll have this on this side and this on that side, and then I'll just do that. For now we don't need it. All right, so we want to work in the terminal, and here I'm going to change that to CMD. What am I doing? My goodness. CMD, like so. So let's go through the documentation and see what happens. So the first thing you're being told here is to create a virtual environment. But we don't know what a virtual environment is yet. We've not tackled virtual environments. To understand virtual environments, take a step back and think about the libraries that I spoke of. And we said libraries are pre-written code that you can just use in your project. So if you have your python.main, if you have a main.py, okay, and inside main.py you have your commands. You have these, you have that, you have that. So this main.py, its work is maybe, for example, to get the weather information and display the weather information in your code. Now, you don't have the code that does that. You do not have the code to generate or to read the weather. So what you need to do is you use a library. Okay, and for you to use that library, you have to tell Python that, hey, I want to use this library. So you have to install it. Now, the problem is sometimes you're not working on one project alone. As you can see here, I'm working on quite a lot of, if I go to settings, I have Chakula, I have this course, I have that, I have this, I have that, I have this, so you can't install. For example, if this one uses the version 1.1 of that library, okay, remember versions from Git. If this one uses version 1.1 and you have another file here, and you need to use the same library, but whatever library you need to use on this project is not version 1.1, it's version, let's say 1.2.0. Okay, now your computer cannot install two versions at the same time. You can only have one version of WhatsApp on your phone. You can only have one version of Facebook. You cannot have multiple versions. So that is where now virtual environments come in. There's actually a video I did a while back on virtual environments. I'll link to it so that you guys can go through it. But of course, for now, I don't expect you to even know what a virtual environment is. So to make your life extremely easy, just do exactly what I'm doing. Okay, just do exactly what I'm doing. You'll go through it later and try to understand. But for now, just do exactly what I'm doing. So I'll scroll to the commands here. So we've already done all this. We've already created our folder. We've already cd'd into our folder. That's okay. We go to the next command. The next command is this one right here. Okay, and we'll just copy that command, we paste it there, and then we hit enter. So once we hit enter, there's something will be created here, this folder venv. Okay, We didn't have this folder, but now it's created. So what happens next? Let's restart. So after you've done that, you're going to scroll down, and now we are using Windows, so we'll shift to Windows, and then we have this command, source venv activate. So I'll copy this. That is the wrong command. That is the wrong command. Let's try source. Yeah, I knew it. That is the wrong command. What about if we try this one right here? So let's try that. Yeah, that is not working. So this documentation is actually broken, because if you're on Windows, I think you just need to type up to that and then delete this, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, perfect. So something has happened here that maybe you guys might not have noticed, but this is our prompt. Okay, this is our command prompt, and it had C users. But now after running this command, it has this thing appended to it, .venv. What this means is we are inside a different environment on our own computer. Again, don't try to understand what all this means, just do what I'm doing. Now, once that is done, I will scroll down to where check virtual environment. Of course, we've checked it's active by this. And then now we have to install FastAPI. So pip upgrade. So let me just type this. I know it's upgraded, is it not? But let me just type and see what happens. I want to copy this, paste it there. I'm pretty sure that is going to take some time. So let me zoom out. I'm having trouble working with this. I hope you guys can see. So again, just to recap what we've done, let me just open the notepad here. All right, and this is one of those stages in tech where you can't really figure out everything all at once. So you just do exactly as as your teacher is doing, and then later you go through what you've done and try to put the pieces together. So this is the sequence of commands you need to run. So there's that, and then there's this, and then there's this. Needs to be down. But now remove PS1, so it's just to be activate. Again, this is why it's important to read the documentation, because personally I know this is how you activate it on Windows, but as you can see they are telling us PS1, and if you go to Windows bash, it's still not showing the actual command we need to use. Yeah, Moas. Yes. If you install packages on your laptop and you're not working inside the virtual environment, my goodness, you will cry. You will cry. Anyway, so okay, so we run this command next, right here. Hit enter. All right, so that looks okay. Now the next thing to do is to create a git ignore file, and we haven't really looked at git ignore, but we've looked at git. Now what git ignore does is any file you put inside git ignore, it will not be submitted to GitHub. It will just be locally on your laptop, but it will not be in GitHub. Like for example, this .env file here. We've created this file here, but you don't want it to go to GitHub. So what should we do? We create a git ignore file, and then we add .env into it, and you can do that using this command. So let's see if that works. Yeah, that did not work. So let's just create it manual. So I'll just come here, I'll say .git ignore, and then inside .git ignore I'm going to say I want to ignore venv. Is it in capital letters? No. I want to ignore venv. Okay, and in some cases, just to be sure, you can put 2 stars there. just to be sure that you're ignoring and then you want to ignore everything inside that folder. So once that is done, we go to the next thing, and that is installing packages. So what package are we installing? So we are installing this package right here. So we'll copy it and paste it here. Between backend engineering and front-end engineering, which one do you guys think is easy? Between backend and front-end, which one do you think is easy? Yes? Okay. I personally think backend is easier. I mean, it's hard, it has its own issues, but man, dealing with just front end stuff is a huge nightmare. Oh my goodness, Sam Delta, you are mistaken. Backend does not have less steps. When you're building your backend, for example, you're building backend for Nation Media, okay? How many people are reading stories when there's a new story? How many people are reading that story? Probably 50,000 people are reading that story. So that means 50,000 people will send a request to get the same story. You get? So so 50,000 people will be making this request. If you have not configured your backend to handle that many number of requests, your backend will crash. And that is what happens when we are trying to file our returns and then KRA server goes down. That is basically what happens, because the server and the code, they are not configured to handle so many requests, because they keep telling themselves, it happens once in a month, once in a year, so nothing happens. So there's quite a lot that goes on, in the backend. For example, we have things like caching, like you have to cache your content properly. There's security, like you would imagine, and I'll give you an example of Soma stories. Any story that a user has not unlocked should not show the full contents of the story. So if I go to this story right here, I have not unlocked this story. So it is not supposed to show the full content of the story. And even if I go here, I'm not supposed to see the full contents of the story, because if I see the full contents, I will not unlock it. If I don't unlock it, the author does not get, their money. So there's that security bit. The other thing is, if I'm trying to unlock a story and I have 450 tokens, how can the backend ensure that this one token will be deducted? Like I show you, see what happens with this. Pay attention to this. It's 449.8. Now this story requires 1 token to unlock. So that means if I click continue reading, this 1 token will be taken from my account and given it to the author, Kunguni. So see what happens. Okay, as you can see, 1 token was deducted from my account. How do you ensure that happens without having any loopholes for somebody to manipulate? And this is the level of security that things like banks need. How can I ensure that if I log in, let me log into my bank account right here. No, I'm not going to do that. You guys were waiting. So this is the same level of security. So we have security, we have caching, we have things like what is it called when you test your before you go into a boxing match, you test first. You ask your wife to give you a few blows, that so let me not digress. So we've ran this command, and no errors, so everything is working okay. Now this can be a little bit confusing, especially if you're just starting out, because you don't even know what these things are. However, in any project, you always need a way to track the libraries that you use, okay? there are gazillion libraries out there, but you need to track the ones that you use. So in my case, I know I have installed this library right here. So I will come here and create a file, requirements.txt, that will keep track of my libraries. So I'll just copy this and paste it inside there. Okay, so I will skip this because I've already installed my requirements, so I will skip that. But I'll go to the bottom and wait, where is main.py? Why are you talking? Oh yeah, I'm done with virtual environments. I think that is all I need to do from this section. So the next thing I will go to is now a user guide. So I will go to this one. It's called user guide. So I will share the link again in the chat, so you can just save that link somewhere. And then now let's see what happens here. So this tutorial shows you how to use FastAPI with most of features step by step. A bit to run any examples, copy the code to a file, main.py. So where is that main.py they keep telling me? Where is main.py? My goodness. I think I skipped main.py somewhere up here. Let me just go back. Let me say, where is the documentation? Where is the documentation? FastAPI. Let me see reference. No. Oh my goodness. I thought I had this thing open. All right. So sometimes, understandably, you cannot get, whatever guide you're looking for, in their website. So you can go to Google and type you can just say build API endpoint with FastAPI. Yeah, of course, all that we can do it. We can just give our AI agent that command and it will type everything for us. But it's important we understand what you're doing. So I'm not interested in that. So let's see. Not what you're looking for. What did I do? FastAPI. So let me change this to last year or this year. Past year, I mean. Okay, why am I not getting the content? Get started with FastAPI, real Python. So let's use that. Okay, so we can see Python and pip install. So we've already done this from the previous command. And then now we go to this. So I'll copy this command. I'll paste it here. So what I'm also trying to show you, you need to learn how to work with multiple tutorials, but still be able to understand the process and where you are at. So here I'm using a different tutorial because I didn't understand the other one, but I have already created my virtual environment. So creating your virtual environment is standard across any tutorial you use. And then I have installed my dependencies, which we did with this and then with this right here. So after that is done, again, I might not get the certification, the certification I need from this tutorial. So I might decide to use yet another tutorial, okay? But let's just see what happens. So we do have main.py here, and I'm just going to copy this, and I'll create a file here called main.py. And then inside that file, I'm going to type my code. All right. So after I've typed my code, let me see. The next command is this. FastAPI dev main.py. So I'll copy that command, paste it there, this one right here, and then I'll hit enter. All right, so there's quite a lot happening here, but of importance is this thing right here. You see this HTTP blah blah. We're going to copy this, and then we'll paste it in the browser. Okay, and as you can see, hello FastAPI. So our server is working okay. Now this is what I was talking about when I say development server. So I have just set up my development server. Again, I have confused you guys. Let's start from the beginning. So let me just try and find a better guide. I think next FastAPI themselves should have a better guide. So I'll just close this. I will even close my VS Code. I'll come here and delete it. Don't save. I'll just come here and delete that folder. So you want to start from scratch, so I'll delete it. Why you're not working? Delete. So let's go back and find a better guide. So we'll, let me see which document am I in. So let me just say FastAPI docs. Again, these are struggles you face every day, trying to find the best guide. Okay, so we do have a guide here, but it's not explaining the virtual environment bit. You see this? There is no virtual environment bit. They're just saying copy the file main.py and then run. They have not even. Oh my goodness. So let's see. FastAPI dev. Yeah, this is even more confusing than anything else. Anyway, so sometimes when you can't get a good articles to explain exactly what you want to achieve, you can just use ChatGPT. So here I'll just go to Gemini. Let me use Gemini. You can use any ChatGPT, Gemini. So I'll go to Gemini and then I'll tell it take me through how to create a simple API using FastAPI, and let's see what we have. So while it does that, let's go ahead and create our folder. Again, if you are lost, if you are completely lost, we are starting from scratch, so just pay attention and follow through. So number one, we create our folder here, say the 8 hours, or let's say 8 hours API, and then this 8 hours API, we're going to open it in VS Code. I'm opening VS Code using drag and drop. So inside here, we are going to create our documentation, readme.md, and then inside you're going to say API for the 8 hours challenge. Okay, and you want our API to do one thing and one thing only. Let's just say list courses, or list ongoing courses. So you'll say list ongoing courses like so. That's it. Then we create our .gitignore. So we'll do .gitignore, okay, and then we create our virtual environment. So I'll open the terminal. Where is my terminal? Terminal, new terminal. Now inside my terminal, I'm going to say Python m-v-e-n-v, and then the virtual environment, you can give it whatever name you want. So in our case, I just like to use venv. So I'll say .venv. I'll hit enter. And then as you can see, it's activating the virtual environment. Oh yeah, the same command is here. So it takes a few seconds. Alright, so once that is done, the folder has been created here, but we said we don't want this folder to be sent to GitHub. So we'll come to .gitignore and say www *venv, and then we want to ignore everything. So once that is done, let's proceed. We come back here, and then we install now this thing here. So I'll copy it, I'll paste it here, I'll hit enter. So like we said, FastAPI in this case is a library. A library is just a collection of other lines of code written by somebody else that you can use in your code to speed up your development. So that is what a library is. Now a library itself can depend on other libraries. That is what you see here. So it's installing other libraries like typing, inspection, shelling arm, whatever that is, Sentry SDK, all those libraries are being installed. So let's just give it a second and we'll get back when it's done. Do you have lemon? need some of that. Yep. All right. So the whatever is installed. Now we go ahead and create your first endpoint. So we'll copy this into a file called main.py. So say main.py. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Robinson. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I have installed FastAPI on, without the virtual environment activated. Okay. In the guide I'll make after this, I'll include all the steps. Okay, I'll not skip anything. But yeah, anyway, let's just proceed since it's already installed. So I'll copy this code, paste it inside main.py, and then I'm going to say FastAPI dev main. So I'll copy this and then I'll paste it here like so. We have a lot going on, but of importance is this thing that ends with 800. So I'll copy this one and then I'll paste it here. And as I can see, hello world. So that is what is being served by this thing right here. Okay, so what happens inside the main.py, we are basically saying if the user goes to the home page, and the home page can be identified by this without anything else. In most cases, some people like to add that like that. You see, it's redirecting to the same thing. So whatever goes here is what will be displayed on the browser. So that is what this means. So if you have something like item or item ID, if you're displaying items, you can just append this here, items. Okay, but in our case, we want to display a list of courses. Again, I don't want to type all that, so I'll go to chat. It's more easier to use AI than tutorials. Yeah, in some cases, like we've seen. So here I will say, create an endpoint like so, courses that will display a list of courses. Okay, and we hit enter. So again, if you're following a tutorial and you copy everything, at some point you end up having redundant code that you don't use, and we will see that in a second. So we've just given our AI some instructions to write an endpoint for courses. So if we come here and type courses, let's see how that happens. Courses. As you can see, all the courses are listed, and this is what we call JSON. So I'll just shift to raw data, and as you can see, this is JSON. Okay, so if this doesn't look good to you, you can just copy it. Wait, pretty print. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So we have courses. The ID Python basics goes for 4 weeks. FastAPI fundamentals goes for 3 weeks. Database design 5 weeks. So let's look at the code the AI has written. So we have this route added right here, courses, and then we get a list of courses. So this is just a list, and the list has dictionaries inside. These are dictionaries inside the list, and then we are returning courses as courses. Okay, so that is what you are seeing right here. So if we change this to something like classes, and then in our browser we try to type courses, as you can see, it's telling us, hey, that route cannot be found. Okay, not found. What if, and if you go to, I want to see something here. Where is the HTTP status code? My goodness, no. Let me see in the dev console. So here I'll go to network, and then I'll hit the endpoint again. Oh yeah, as I can see, 404. 404 means not found. Whatever you're looking for cannot be found. It's because we do not have this route. So we return this back to courses. Okay, and then we delete. Now this is the redundant code I was talking about. You see this, we don't need this item, but it was there in the tutorial that we are following. So we'll remove that. And then in the main route here, we don't want to display hello world like we are doing right now. So if I go to the main route, I can see we are seeing hello world. I don't want to see that. I want to see, for example, the 8 hours API is live. So it's very simple. I can just come here and say yes, the 8 hours API is up and running. Okay, like so. So let's go and refresh our browser. And as you can see, yes, the API server is running. So what if we want to get only the details of one course? Right now, if we come here, 20 minutes. So if I come here and say courses, oh, I'm typing the wrong thing, courses. As I can see, I'm seeing all the information related to the courses that we have, okay? I'm seeing all the courses in short. But what if I only want to see one course, details about one course, okay? I can come here and say, for example, create courses, and then ID, course ID, to get course details. Am I typing the right thing? I don't know. I don't care. So once you do that, we let AI do its thing. All right, done. Courses ID 1. So let's look at our courses. Let's say we want to see details about course ID 3 only, not any other course. So I can come here and say I want to see 3. And then I'm being told that, course 3's database design goes for 5 weeks. It's Bob Wilson and it's intermediate. But what if I go back to the main? All right, so there's something interesting you need to see here. When you're just listing data, like all the items in the kitchen, you don't want to give, a lot of information. You want to only show the essential information. So here, for example, let me just go to raw data, pretty print. As I can see, I'm only getting the ID, the title, and the duration, okay? I'm not getting the author or the teacher or whatnot. But if I specify only one course, let's say, for example, with ID 2, all right, I can see more information, like, for example, the instructor and the level, okay? So whatever it is I'm doing right here is what we call URLs or API endpoints. That's basically it. These are API endpoints. So if you hear API endpoints, we've just created one, okay? Personally, I had a very hard time trying to understand API endpoints. I was like, API, what are they? What are these things? And then anybody who was trying to explain it was like, so Frontend is like somebody in a hotel who wants food. And then backend is like the kitchen staff cooking the food. And then API endpoints are like the people taking the food from the kitchen to the customers. And I'm like, how does that translate into code? And it was very confusing at first. But yeah, so basically that is what we've done, okay? So sometimes you don't want to do everything, everything we've done, you don't want to get into all that mess. So there's another AI called Gemini CLI that tries to make it very easy for you, and I'll show you in a second. So I will close this tab right here, and I'll go to the browser and say Gemini CLI. And again, remember, CLI is command line interface. It's an application that you can only use in the terminal. So I'll do CMD, and then I'll open my prompt, my command prompt. I'll delete this file, and then I'll say CD desktop. So inside desktop, I'll say mkdir 8 hours with Gemini. 8 hours with Gemini. I'll hit enter. So I will CD into 8 hours with Gemini, and then I'll go to my browser. I'll click on this link right here. Okay, so this is for the lazy people, but they also know what they're doing. So I'll copy this command right here. You see this one? I'll copy it into this. I'll hit enter. Now Mwas was saying, oh, AI cannot replace software engineers. Let's see if it can. Now this is a test. Let's see if it can. Mwas, fingers crossed. Yeah, so Gemini CLI takes quite a while because it's huge. I don't know why they made it that big. It should be like 3 MBs, but they decided to. So what happens with Gemini CLI? This is the workflow we are trying to do. And this is like fully agentic mode. You don't even need any software engineering skills to do this, to do whatever I'm doing. So the first step was installing Gemini. Okay. Gemini. And then we will give Gemini our instruction. So number one, create a FastAPI, and then we want the FastAPI to return a list of courses. Okay. Yeah, and then create the details endpoint. So we are not going to write any code. We are just going to give it instructions. Oh my goodness, how long do you need? Anyway, so while it's installing, I can show you guys using the Gemini in my Ubuntu machine. So I just minimize this one, but the workflow is the same on all the operating systems. So I will just type Gemini here and then hit enter. I thought you already installed. My goodness, what is not happening? I think my Gemini is broken. So this one is still installing. Oh yeah, it's now ready. So what I'll do is I'll say create a simple FastAPI endpoint to list courses, and another endpoint to list details about a course. All right, that looks good. I'll hit enter. So I have not written any code, but we shall see. So mkdir FastAPI courses, touch FastAPI courses, hit enter. Oh, I was trying to zoom in. All right, so of course it will ask you before it writes any anything. So it says apply these changes. You say yes, and then write to file requirements.txt. Say yes. And then it gives you instructions. cd FastAPI courses pip install requirements.txt. Now this is why, for the love of God, this damn stupid thing cannot replace me, because as you can see, it's telling me here to cd into the courses directory, which I'm going to do. Let me just open another window here. So I will do cd. Let me just copy the command directly. So I'll copy this, paste it here, hit enter, and then this one. This is very dangerous, because what it's telling me is I install all my requirements on my computer, which has other projects. It has completely skipped the virtual environment part. Okay, you see, it has skipped that. So if you don't want to learn software engineering saying I can just tell AI to do it for me, you'll be surprised, because as you can see, this is very wrong. So let's go ahead and install our virtual environment. So I'll do Python again -m venv. This will have to be dot, and on my computer I run Python like that. So we'll give it a second. So once it's done, we can confirm that the virtual environment has been created. So we'll do ls-al, and then we can see venv is right here. So I will activate it, and to activate it, in my case, I do that. Then I hit enter. So once the virtual environment is activated, we can now proceed and install this. We can run this command right here. So as you can see, the AI completely did not give you this instruction, creating a virtual environment and activating it. And if you're running multiple projects, you'll run into problems. So once that is done, I'm going to run the project. So I'll say python 3 main.py. All right, so we'll go to 8080 and see if it's the same thing. First, there's nothing being displayed on our homepage, the slash thing I told you about. But what if we go to courses? Okay, yeah, courses. Now we have data here, so I'll just click print, and we have ID, introduction, learn basics, blah blah. So what if we want to see details about this course only? So we can just come here and say courses, but we want ID3, and then we see ID3 courses only. So as you can see, yes, the AI has, it has significantly helped us in creating the endpoint, but it skipped a very major step. And that is the behavior of, any agentic AI tool that you use when you're coding. It will always keep something which is very extremely important, and that will mess you up, especially in production. I don't know how big it is, probably 20 MBs, I think. I'm too lazy to check. I'm too lazy to check. So those are the two ways you can build your API endpoint. You can just use the AI agent. Like I can keep giving it instructions here. I can say, for example, create another one to display the students. Create another one to display courses that have been expired or deactivated, and things like that. So I can just keep talking to it here while I also see let's just give it a try. So let's say, for example, create another news endpoint to show news. Okay, hit enter, give it some time to do its thing. So here I'm not even looking at the code it generates. I can only approve it here. All right, so tells me blah blah. I'll just say allow once. Okay, so the news endpoint has been created. Let's go to the browser and see if indeed it's working. So we'll go to the browser. Where is the browser? Okay, I can just click here, and then now we are looking for the news endpoint. So we'll say news. Nothing. What happened? I thought you created it. It's right here. 8,000 news. Let's restart our server. So I'll just do that, and again go to the browser, refresh. Oh yeah, now we have some news. So we have new FastAPI course launch. So we have quite a few endpoints here. So we have news. We also have the courses endpoint, courses, like so. We can get the course details like so. The details about a course like so. So these are what we call API endpoints, and it's the entire purpose of the backend. Now, once you have the data in JSON, you can, we say, consume that data in your front-end application. Like I showed you here, stories come as JSON objects. Like here, this is the user object. You guys will see my secrets. Let me get out of there. If we are looking for the tags, for example, you see the tags are coming as JSON, but when we display the tags, we don't display them as JSON, we display them like this. So basically that is how the backend connects with the front end. So the backend creates the API endpoints, which are mostly in JSON format, as we've seen here, and then now it's the work of the front end to consume or to take that JSON and display in a nice way. So in the next class, which will be on Saturday, we will now go through the entire process and understand how everything fits in. So we will create an API endpoint. We will create the front end. We will also integrate with the database. Right now we do not have a database. We'll also integrate with the database, and then we'll see the entire workflow from front end to back end to the database to the user, and all those and everything in between. I'm super excited for that one. It will be as long as this one, and it will be as complex as this one. So come prepared. In the meantime, do go through the basics. I have prepared this a written version of this class in this chapter here. Where is it? In this chapter here, a backend development. So do go through it. Try to note down some of the things that are confusing, and then you'll go through those terms again. The goal here is not to cram which code to type where. If I want to define a user, do I use a variable? Do I use a dictionary? No. Then the thing to take away here is that if I want to have the backend connected to the front end, then I have to create an API endpoint in the backend which will send the data in JSON to the front end. That's it. Everything else, AI will handle it for you. It will write the code, we will debug, and move from there. So if you have any questions, you can post in the Discord help channel, I will get to. Oh, I didn't see the question. Mwas, what question was it? Oh, yes. Even if your code is super optimized, your code can handle 10,000 requests, but your code is running on a server that does not know how to handle those many requests, then it will still crash. So for a robust system, like for example, Summer Stories, which is very robust by the way, you can go ahead and try. Send as many requests as you want. So for a robust system, the code itself, which we also say the application layer, has to be fully optimized, and the server where you are hosting your code also has to be fully optimized. If one is not, regardless of what you do, the server will still crash. Yeah, if you have any questions, do post in the help channel. Myself or Mwas or Sam will look at it. They've been following through very closely. I know they'll handle. When I get time, I'll also go through your issues if you have any. I hope you have completed the Git and GitHub assignment and you've shared in the achievements channel. I hope you've also done you've also practiced, all the exercises that we've had. I think that's it. I'll see you guys on Saturday. Do practice, by the way. Do practice. Tomorrow I want you to watch 3 videos on building APIs using FastAPI. 3 videos. I think I'll share in the chat. Let me just note that down. So before our next class, I want you to watch 3 videos on building APIs using Fast. Okay. You can try and follow along, do what they are doing, but you can just try and go through and try to understand the fundamentals. I also want to read 3 articles on backend engineering. Right. There's a video I did on virtual environments. I'll also share it somewhere maybe towards the end of the video or whatever, for you to go through. That's it. Yeah. Thank you for being here. There have been 20 of you concurrent viewers. I hope you've understood something, but thank you for staying to the end. Yeah, the course is over now. Get out of here. Go drink some water, go